Welcome to Storytellers Showcase. I'm your host, Mark Berry, and we have for you a special treat. We have storytelling and music combined. Today, John Petrick and his wife, Rebecca Petrick, are going to entertain you. John has only been telling stories for about 6 years, and he is, well, you'll see, he's doing great. Rebecca has been a music teacher and musician most of her life, and her recent focus is on Celtic fiddle. And so without any further ado, here is John and Rebecca Petrick.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. The first one we're going to do is a adaptation of Kenneth Grahame's Reluctant Dragon. Very loose adaptation. Long ago, along the rugged coast of Maine, lived a poor farmer and his wife. And they had a boy, but the boy was different. You see, the boy cared little for farming like his parents or chasing snakes and squirrels like the other boys. This boy loved only to read, and sometimes he would get so absorbed in his reading he would forget to do his chores. But his parents did not beat him because they knew some people need to know the ways of the village and some people need to know more. The best pasture land near the village had long ago been taken by the wealthier farmers, so the poor farmer had to drive his cattle and sheep far into the hills to find grazing. One day, he came home, all in a fluster. It's a disaster, I tell you. The sheep were nervous. I was hearing noises. I climbed to the top of the highest hill, and there's a dragon. There's a dragon in the Cockchalky Cave. Oh, what will we do? He will kill us all. Now, Father, calm down, said the boy. I know much about dragons. They are in many books. Let me talk to him. And the parents were very proud that they had raised such a brave and knowledgeable son. The next morning, the boy hiked to the top of the highest hill. The view from there was magnificent. The trees, the brooks, the meadows sloping down to the village. Beyond that, some smaller hills, and beyond that, the blue of the ocean. And at the top slept a blue-green dragon, as big as 20 oxen with claws as long as knives. Mr. Dragon? What do you want? I just want to talk with you. Well, you won't throw stones at me or poke me with sharp sticks like those other boys? Oh, no. I know that dragons are very sensitive and intelligent. The dragon looked at the boy with new respect. Boy, it sure is pretty up here. Do you plan on staying long? Well, I don't know. I don't need much. I don't rampage or chase knights, or I mostly just think. Well, what do you think about? Well, I write poems and stories just for fun, you know. Well, me too. But nobody else in the village does that. And thereafter, every day, the boy would hike to the top of the highest hill, and the dragons would tell his stories of long ago, when many dragons roamed the land. And the boy would also share his poetry and tales. One day, the boy had a different message. You know, you're not going to be able to stay here. Most people think dragons are the enemy of the human race. Soon the people of the village will come with weapons and drive you out. But, you know, I wouldn't hurt anyone. I was hoping I could stay. But the boy's message soon came true. There are no secrets in a small town, and soon everyone knew about the dragon. And even though he had not touched as much as a chicken, tales of his cruelty and depravity spread far and wide. Why, to hear the men at the village tavern every night, you would think that it was only their bravery that kept all the women, children, and livestock from being devoured. But in the morning, it was only the brave boy that went to the top of the highest hill. But one day, the village was abuzz with excitement. News of the dragon had spread all the way to England, and St. George was coming to slay the dragon. The people lined the streets as St. George came in on his tall white war horse. The boy found St. George the next morning at breakfast. St. George, this dragon wouldn't hurt anyone. Well, by Jove, son, I think I know a thing or two about dragons. They aren't always honest. Well, this one is. You must meet him. And so St. George and the boy hiked to the top of the highest hill. And St. George did, in fact, find that the dragon was kind and peaceful. Oh, by Jove! Now what am I going to do? I told the people that I would slay a dragon. I have a reputation to uphold. Don't you at least have a damsel in distress? I like rescuing fair maidens. Wait, said the boy, I have an idea. And the three of them huddled together, whispering. When St. George returned to the village, news soon spread that he would slay the dragon the next day. The next morning found the people of the village streaming up the highest hill, their picnic baskets full of food and wine. They laid their blankets next to the cave. At about noon, the people saw St. George coming up the high hill on his tall white war horse, his armor glinting in the sunlight. The dragon, hearing the clink of the armor, jumped out of the cave, breathing smoke and fire, cracking his tail like a whip, getting dangerously close to the picnickers. St. George charged! The dragon easily fended off the first two charges, but the third charge, the saint's sword hit the dragon squarely, and the dragon went down. The people cheered. Crying, the boy rushed to the dragon, only to see the dragon look up and wink at him. The boy's plan had worked. The knight had hit the dragon squarely in the spot where his scales were the thickest. St. George stood astride the dragon. As the dragon began to stir, somebody said, "Off with his head!" "Not yet," said St. George. And he and the boy led the defeated dragon down to the village where a great celebration was planned. After much food and drink, St. George rose. "People of the village, on the way down the hill, The dragon told me that if he is allowed to live at the top of the highest hill, that he will protect this village from all dragons and all other intruders forever. I have known many dragons, and I find this one to be trustworthy. The dragon shall live. The people were stunned. In fact, there were a few boos. But after a few more rounds, they were saying, "Hail to the dragon!" The dragon stepped forward. "I want to thank St. George. I want to thank the people of the village." And then, like any storyteller with a captive audience, he began to tell his stories. But alas, all good things must come to an end. And when the keg was empty, the villagers filed out one by one. And soon it was only the boy and the dragon. And the boy had told the dragon that he would take him to the top of the highest hill because the dragon was afraid of the dark. But the boy was very young, and it was very late, and they'd only gone a short way when the boy lay down by the side of the road and the dragon lay next to him. And it was there that St. George found them the next morning. He roused them, and the three of them together, arm in arm, walked to the top of the highest hill.